There's a feeling you get when you first start a business. Everything is on you. And weirdly, that feels kind of great. You land the client, you do the work, you send the invoice, the money shows up. But here's the thing, nobody tells you early on. It's working because you're working. You're the engine, the quality check, the decision maker, the backup plan, and the emergency contact all at once. When the business is small, that feels totally normal. You tell yourself it's just a phase. I'm just getting started. I have to wear all the hats. That's entrepreneurship. But then the business grows, and this is where things start to quietly fall apart. More inquiries come in, more clients need managing, more invoices need sending, more problems land in your lap. And suddenly, the thing you built for freedom starts to feel like the one thing you can't walk away from. You're technically the owner, but functionally, you're the most overworked person in the building. Someone still needs your approval. Someone's still waiting on your call. Files are in your head, standards are in your head, and the answers to every client question are, you guessed it, also in your head. You bring someone in to help, and instead of things getting lighter, you just have someone else asking you what to do. That's when it hits you. The business hasn't been built around systems, it's been built around you, your memory, your instincts, your availability, which means it's not really a business yet. It's a very elaborate job that you can't quit. A solopreneur carries the business around in their skull. A CEO builds the business into a structure. You replace memory with documentation. You replace guesswork with clear standards. You replace constant availability with real ownership among your team. A business that runs without you doesn't mean you disappear. Your presence should still improve the business, but it shouldn't be the only thing keeping it standing. That's what we're building toward. Let's get into how you actually do it. The first thing to get honest about is this. Almost everything you know about how your business works exists only in your head. And that's the real problem. You know which supplier to trust. You know how to handle the awkward client email. You know what a finished job is supposed to look like before anyone tells you. But to everyone else, it looks like a maze. They can handle the task in front of them, sure, but they can't own the outcome because the real instructions aren't in any document. They're tucked away inside your brain. The business simply wasn't ready to be handed to someone else. No process, no standard, no examples, no definition of what good looks like. It's faster if I just do it myself is the sentence that keeps you stuck doing everything forever. Delegation isn't supposed to feel fast on day one. The point is that by day 30, day 60, day 90, the business depends on you a little less. That's the trade. So the first move isn't hiring, it's extraction. Getting the business out of your head and into a form that other people can actually work with. Document while you work. When you're replying to an inquiry, save the email as a template. When you're quoting a project, record the thinking behind the number. When you're onboarding a client, write down the steps as you do them. When you answer the same question for the fourth time, that's your signal. This needs to be written down and filed somewhere people can find it. But here's the part most people miss when they start documenting. They only capture the steps. Click this, upload that, send this, reply here. The steps are useful, but they're not the whole thing. What's actually valuable is the judgment underneath the steps. It's not just send a follow-up. It's when should the follow-up go? What should it say? When is friendly the right tone? And when does it need to be firmer? When should you offer help? And when should you push toward a call? That layer of thinking is what separates handing someone a task from giving them the ability to think inside your standards. Think of it as building a second brain for the business. Your templates, your decision rules, your quality examples, your pricing logic, your onboarding sequence, your client communication tone, all of it needs to live somewhere outside your head. It'll be messy at first. That's fine. Messy documentation is infinitely better than invisible knowledge. You can refine it later. The important thing is that it exists, because once the business has memory, people can learn from it. Once they can learn from it, they can take real ownership. And once they can take ownership, you can finally start moving out of the center. That's the beginning of the whole shift. Once you've started pulling knowledge out of your head, the next question most founders hit is, where do I even start with getting help? And the usual answer sounds like this: I just need someone to help with everything. Which, I get it. When you're overwhelmed, everything genuinely feels like the problem. The inbox is too much. The admin is too much. The clients are too much. Everything is simultaneously urgent and unfinished. But hiring someone to help with everything almost always creates more confusion than it solves. Vague roles produce vague outcomes, and vague outcomes mean you're still managing every detail, just with a helper hovering nearby. So instead of asking who you need, ask a better question. What part of my time needs to be brought back first? That framing changes everything. It stops being about getting relief and starts being about creating leverage. Founder time is probably the most valuable resource in your business. Not your capital, not your tools, your hours, your thinking, your decision making. And right now you might be spending that on formatting documents, chasing invoices, rescheduling calls, manually updating trackers, and answering the same 3 customer questions on a loop. None of those things are unimportant. They may genuinely need to happen, but they don't need to happen by you. Your first support hire should almost always be about recovering time that you can redirect into higher leverage work. Sales, partnerships, improving your offer, training people, building relationships that only you can build. The goal isn't to make your life look busy in a different way. It's to create actual breathing room and then use that room intelligently. Here's where people trip up though. A founder hires an assistant, gets 5 hours back a week, and then immediately fills those 5 hours with more low value tasks, more inbox time, more tweaking, more unnecessary check-ins. The business doesn't move forward. It just creates a shinier version of the same chaos. So before you hire anyone, decide what your recovered time is for. If you get 5 hours back every week, where are those 5 hours going? More sales conversations, building a referral system, creating better client experiences, reviewing your financials properly for once. Wherever it goes, it needs to be intentional. Otherwise, you're not buying back founder time. You're just buying temporary relief. And relief is nice, but it runs out. When you think about your first hire, the real question isn't, can I afford this person? It's, what will this person take off my plate? And what will I actually do with that capacity? The hire itself doesn't have to be dramatic. A part-time virtual assistant, a freelance bookkeeper, a junior delivery person, someone who handles scheduling and inbox triage. The title matters far less than the specificity of the role. Help me with admin is not a role. Manage the inbox every weekday. Respond to standard inquiries using these templates. Flag anything that doesn't fit and send me a 10-minute summary each afternoon. That's a role. Help me with clients isn't a role. Prepare client folders, send onboarding emails, chase missing information, and update the project board by end of each day. That's a role. Specific work produces specific results, and specific results are actually manageable. That's how you reduce your dependency on your own constant presence without creating a bigger mess in the process. So you've got some help. People are handling more of the day-to-day. Things feel a little lighter. And then a new problem appears. And this one is sneaky because it doesn't look like a problem at first. It looks like normal management. Your team can handle the work, but only up to a point. Then everything hits a wall because someone needs to ask you. Someone needs your approval. Someone needs to know if this situation is normal or if it's an exception. And suddenly you're not doing every task anymore, but you're still the checkpoint for all of them. You're not the one in the trenches. You're just the person everyone lines up to see before they can keep going. That's still not a business that runs without you. It's a business that waits for you at different stations. The fix is decision rules, and they're simpler than they sound. A decision rule is just a guideline that helps your team know what to do without coming back to you every time. For example, if a client asks for a small change that takes less than 50 minutes to handle, the team can just do it. No approval needed. If a refund request comes in within 7 days and meets these specific conditions, customer support can process it on the spot. If a lead asks for pricing, send this email first, then offer these two next steps. If an invoice is 3 days overdue, send reminder 1. 7 days, reminder 2. 14 days, escalate it to you. These rules seem basic, but they're genuinely powerful because they break the pattern where your personal judgment is required for every repeatable situation. Clients get a more consistent experience because the business isn't responding differently depending on your schedule, your mood, or how many messages you haven't answered yet. Your team gets confidence because they know the edges of their authority. And you get fewer interruptions because the small stuff has already been handled by the time it gets to you. There's something a lot of founders accidentally do that makes all of this harder. They train their team to wait without realizing it. They say things like, just check with me first, or send it over before it goes out, or I'll handle that one. And everyone learns the lesson. Nothing moves until the founder says so. You haven't built a team, you've built a queue. To fix that, start by asking, where is my team waiting for me that they don't need to? What decisions could they make with a clearer framework? What questions do I keep answering over and over? Because every repeated question is a missing system. If someone keeps asking what to say to a difficult client, you need a response guide. If someone keeps asking whether something is good enough, you need quality examples and standards. If someone keeps asking whether to escalate, you need escalation rules. If someone keeps asking where to file something, you need folder structure. Each repeated question is the business showing you exactly where it still relies on your personal judgment instead of a documented one. That's how you progressively remove yourself from the center, not by abandoning people, but by giving them enough structure to operate with real confidence. The goal isn't for them to guess what you do. It's to make the standards so clear that the right call becomes obvious. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Most solopreneur businesses don't run on strategy or planning. They run on urgency. Everything is last minute. Everything is reactive. Problems get handled when they get loud enough to ignore. A client follows up and you respond. A payment goes late and you chase it. A project slips and you jump in. Sales go quiet and you panic and post something. The inbox fills up and you spend half a day clearing it. When you're running solo, you can survive that mode for a while. It's stressful, but it moves. The problem is that once you're trying to lead a team and grow something real, running on chaos becomes extremely expensive. People can't plan around unpredictability. Problems compound when they're not caught early, and you're always 3 steps behind instead of 1 step ahead. What the business needs instead is rhythm, not more meetings. Nobody needs more meetings for the sake of meetings. What I mean is simple, consistent operating routines that keep things visible before they become crises. Here's what that might look like in practice. Monday, you spend 20 minutes reviewing the week. What needs to be delivered? Which clients need attention? What deadlines actually matter? Where could something go wrong? And can you head it off? Midweek, you check the pipeline. How many leads came in? How many were followed up with? Where are deals stalling? What needs a nudge? Friday, a quick operational review. What got completed? What got delayed? What question kept coming up that probably needs a better system? Then once a month, you look at the numbers. Revenue, expenses, cash in the bank, outstanding invoices, best performing offers, retention. Not because you love spreadsheets, but because you need real signals, not just feelings, to know what's actually happening. And this is a genuinely important shift. A lot of founders know their business through stress. When things feel bad, they worry. When things feel okay, they relax. But feelings are terrible instruments for this. You can feel busy while the pipeline dries up. You can feel overwhelmed when one broken process is actually causing 80% of the friction. You can feel like everything's fine while cash flow is quietly becoming a problem. A CEO runs on signals, not vibes. The signal might be lead volume, conversion rate, project turnaround time, customer satisfaction, or profit margin. Most founders are great at being heroes. Something breaks, they fix it. A client's upset, they step in. A deadline's slipping, they stay up late. And in those moments, it feels like leadership, like you're protecting the business, keeping your word, not letting anyone down. But if you're always the hero, the business never learns to stand without you. Every time you rescue a situation without fixing why the situation kept happening, you guarantee it will show up again. You've patched the surface and left the root cause completely untouched. That's the difference between an operator and a CEO. An operator solves the problem. A CEO solves the reason the problem keeps recurring. So when something breaks and lands on your desk, your first question shouldn't only be, how do I fix this? It should be, why did this reach me at all? A client issue reached you. Why? Was the support person not trained well enough? Was there no template for that situation? Was the client's expectation wrong from the very beginning because the onboarding was weak? A delivery mistake reached you. Why? Was there no checklist? Was the quality standard unclear? Was the wrong person responsible for the handover? A finance issue reached you. Why? Was no one tracking overdue invoices? Was there no monthly review? Was the bookkeeping 3 months behind? When you start asking that question, why did this reach me? You stop treating problems as random fires and start treating them as feedback about the system. And that reframe changes your whole relationship to problems, because now you're not trying to personally solve every fire faster. You're trying to reduce the number of fires that need you in the first place. The honest thing is that a lot of founders find this shift harder than they expect. Being needed feels validating. Being the person who swoops in and saves the day feels important. It keeps you at the center, which, let's be honest, part of you might actually enjoy. But that need to be needed becomes expensive. If you want to know whether any of this is actually working, whether the business is genuinely becoming less dependent on you, there's one test that's more revealing than any KPI. Can you step away? Not forever, not irresponsibly, not without telling anyone. But can you take one afternoon off with minimal contact and have the business keep moving? Can you take a full day, 2 days, eventually a week? The way to run this test well is to set it up properly first, not just disappear and hope. Tell the team clearly what they own during this period. Spell out what decisions they're empowered to make without you. Make sure the escalation rules are clear so they know what actually needs to reach you versus what doesn't. Make sure clients know who their point of contact is. Make sure invoices, deliveries, follow-ups, and support all have named owners. Then step back and watch. If things run smoothly, that's great. The structure is getting stronger. But honestly, if things break, that's also valuable, because now you know exactly where the business is still running on you rather than on systems. Maybe delivery was fine, but client communication fell apart. Maybe projects moved, but invoices didn't go out. Maybe everyone handled their individual tasks, but nobody made any actual decisions. Each gap is a precise map of your next dependency to remove. One important thing, don't use the absence test to blame people. Use it to improve the process. If something drops, the first question isn't who failed. It's whether the task was genuinely clear. Was the owner clear? Was the standard clear? Was the process documented? Were they trained? Did they know when to escalate? Did they have what they needed to succeed? A lot of what looks like people problems is actually system problems. Not always, but far more often than most founders want to admit. And the CEO's job is to tell the difference. If someone's capable but unclear, improve the system. If the system is clear and the person consistently underperforms, then you address the person. But don't skip straight to blame when the business hasn't given people enough structure to succeed. The strongest businesses treat every breakdown as an opportunity to build something better. Problems become process improvements. Gaps become documentation. Repeated failures become clearer standards. Gradually, your absence gets less risky, not because you've made yourself unnecessary, but because the business has gotten smarter. That's the real goal, not a business you've abandoned, a business that doesn't collapse when you're not holding every piece of it together by hand. At some point in all of this, a genuine question comes up. If I'm stepping back from daily execution, what am I actually doing? It's a fair question. If you've spent years being the person who handles everything, stepping away from that feels strange, even suspicious. You might catch yourself wondering if you're being lazy, if you should jump back in, if you're somehow falling behind while things run without you. But the CEO role isn't doing nothing. It's doing the work that only the CEO should be doing. And it's very different from the work you've been doing until now. Direction is the biggest piece. Where is the business actually going? Which opportunities are worth chasing and which ones are quietly burning your team's capacity? Which clients belong in your world and which ones are costing you more than they're worth? Which offers should be doubled down on and which should be retired? The business is moving, but is it moving in the right direction? When you're inside every task, nobody's really thinking about this. It's only when you step back that there's space to actually steer. CEO work requires thinking time. Real, protected, uninterrupted thinking time. Not checking messages while you think, not having a call in between, actually sitting with the hard questions about the business and working through them. Most founders never have this because they've never given themselves permission to step back enough to make it possible. But that's the whole point of building the structure. You're not removing yourself so you can do less. You're creating the conditions to finally do the work that actually moves the needle. If you're still in that phase where everything runs through you, there's no shame in that. That's how most good businesses begin. In the early days, being deeply involved in everything is how you learn what customers actually want, how the delivery actually works, what a good outcome actually looks like. That closeness is valuable. It's not the problem. The problem is staying there when the business is ready to grow beyond it. At some point, the same hands-on approach that got you here starts to become the ceiling because there's only so much of you, only so many hours, only so many decisions you can make before your thinking gets slower, cloudier, less sharp, and no amount of harder work will change that arithmetic. So the goal shifts. It's not about being more productive. It's about building the business outside of yourself, getting your knowledge into documentation, freeing up your time by offloading the repeatable work, creating rules that let people move without your constant input, running weekly rhythms so you know what's happening before it becomes a crisis, stopping yourself from rescuing the same problem without fixing the reason it keeps happening, testing whether the business can hold together when you step back, and using what breaks as a roadmap for what to fix next. Piece by piece, you move out of the center, not because you don't care anymore, but because the business is becoming genuinely stronger. That's what it actually means to go from solopreneur to CEO. Not the title, not the ego, not the version where you put founder and CEO in your Instagram bio while still doing all the same stuff. It's the version where you've built something with real memory, real standards, real accountability, real structure. Something that doesn't depend on you personally showing up for every single part of it to keep moving. That's where real freedom lives, not in owning a business, in owning a business that doesn't own every hour of your life. So here's a practical place to start this week. Don't try to fix everything at once. Just find one task, one thing that keeps coming back to you week after week that someone else could eventually own if the process was clearer. Record yourself doing it. Write the steps, capture the decision rules, save the template, turn it into something that lives outside your head. Then delegate one small thing, create one metric, write one rule that stops people from needing your approval for a situation that doesn't need you. Small moves done repeatedly are what turn a one-person operation into a real company. And eventually you look up and realize the business isn't running through you anymore. It has its own rhythm, its own structure, its own way of remembering what to do. And you've stopped being the person doing everything. You're leading something, building something. And that's when you've genuinely made the shift. If this gave you some clarity on where your business still depends too much on you, start with that one task today. Document it, simplify it, delegate it, then do it again with the next one. That's how you build a business that runs without you, not by disappearing from it, but by making it strong enough not to need you at the center of everything. Subscribe for more practical breakdowns on business systems, operations, and what it actually takes to build something that scales. Like the video if it helped, and drop a comment below. What's the first task you're going to take off your plate? See you in the next one.